right, Avery. Another tournament. Well, I mean, first let's start with there is a whole nother tournament organizer who is coming into the scene. Blast has announced that they're going to come into Dota 2. So for those of you guys who don't know who Blast is, they did a bunch of very good Counter-Strike events. That is the work that I have seen them do. They're an organizer that I have hoped would come back to Dota, because they came into Dota and they did one online event that was kind of whatever. They did that bounty hunt tournament, which was just like a little unique format. Personally, I was kind of whatever about it. But for them actually doing like full on events, I hope that they came back and did that. And it seems like that they're going to be doing that. They announced they're coming back into Dota. I believe they're announcing that they're also doing multiple tournaments as well. So it's not just like a one-off sort of thing. I don't know if they're going to continue with the weird format that they had for the bounty hunt, or if they're actually trying to come in and be a full-on tournament organizer. I would assume so if they're doing multiple events. That's going to be the case. Did you play in bounty hunt, Avery?
No, I was not good enough, for sure.
No, sad.
I don't even remember what was bounty hunt.
So it was a Dota tournament with extra bounties in the game that you could do. So there was like one where you had to... Okay, so there was 4 bounties. Only 2 of them were claimed. Nigma, who got 3rd, claimed 1 bounty, and Alliance, who I don't even see in the placement, got second to last. Yeah, second to last. They got another bounty. Those were the 2 $5,000 bounties. There were some bigger ones, and you can actually click on them. So that for $20,000, you had to kill a single enemy player 20 times in a single game as a team.
Okay.
And then there's a $15,000 one. Drop the dead donkey. Kill 9 or more of your opponent's couriers in a single game as a team.
So obviously Jinkyu was not at that tournament.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, it was just a bunch of Western teams, a bunch of European teams. So another reason that you weren't invited. VIP, keep 1 team member alive for the duration of a single game. So deathless game. That's a $5,000 one, and then another $5,000 one. The opposing team cannot gain control of your outpost for the duration of a game. And
so all I'm learning here is that you have a bunch of bounties that are like impossible to do. Nigma and Alliance did the bounties, and those teams are basically completely disbanded by now. So if anything, you don't want to be getting these bounties. That's all I've learned from this conversation. Like, don't do it. Don't go get that bounty hunt. It's not going to end well for you. Your team's going to be in shambles in a year. You know, I guess the bounty bunny didn't help Loda pay for the team.
That's true.
Didn't do them any good. I don't know. I doubt they're doing that. I think it's just going to be a league series. But it's good. They're a good organizer. Good for them to come into Dota. I think everybody's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Hope we get to work those events. Big shout out to John Blast out there if he's listening. John Blast. You know, hook us up.
We'll
do some good work.
You know,
I don't see a downside.
They paid the teams to be there. They worked it in as part of their whole bounty system. I don't think many people know, but some teams will demand an appearance fee to actually be at a tournament. That was a thing. I don't know if it's a thing as much anymore because the DPC came in and obviously you can't really do anything about that. You can't do an appearance fee for something like that. And then ESL's got their whole like partnership thing, which is like a bigger deal than just an appearance fee. So I don't know if teams are asking for appearance fees again this year. I don't know if you've heard of that, but they used to be a thing. And OG and Secret started with $20,000, while the remaining teams started with $15,000. So they got that just for joining the tournament.
Secret ain't getting that appearance fee now. The times have changed, my friend. I don't even know if OG would be getting that. I don't think anybody's getting it. But
no.
You know, maybe like Gaming Gladiators or Team Spirit or somebody could demand it when they're hitting a good stride, right? Like, sure, but I don't know. That's a thing of the past for sure.
That appearance fee, each match winner receives 40% of their opponent's active cash pool. So if you won a bounty or the initial starting cash, you beat that team in a game, you get 40% of the money that they hold.
Dude, what is this communist ass tournament, bro? Like, what is this shit? This is, like, just stealing money from everybody, evening it out? Or is it the most capitalist tournament ever? Just the winners make everything and the losers get screwed.
I mean, yeah, because Team Secret ended up with, so the total, the base prize pool was 100,000. It says the bounties were separate, so the bounties are this own special thing. So $100,000. Team Secret, who got first, got $50,000.67. So they got slightly over 50% of the prize pool, which I would say that would make it the most capitalist tournament ever.
Yeah, that's what Skeeter wanted when he was talking
Exactly.
on the podcast. So the funny thing about Dota is, like, whenever people are winning, they're always advocating for, the top heavy prize pool. This should be the standard for a Dota tournament. Of course, as I've gotten top 2 in the last 8. And the second they drop to like that 8th to 12th, it's like, well, we got to spread the money around. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go home with nothing. Like, you can't expect teams to show up and play a 2-week major and go home for nothing. Like I did multiple times, by the way, just for the record. Like, you can't expect that. But then when you're in that top 2, 50%, yeah, they deserve it. It's really hard to get top 2 at TI. Of course he deserves 50%. Just not from me. Take it from those clowns over there. Like, it's such a privileged person take all type mindset. But the thing is, I think that's how the Dota scene has been oriented since forever. It's just like a winner takes all type deal. If you win, you get the riches, and if you don't, well, you're on a tier 2 team and you can suck a bag of dicks for like 5 years, That's just how Dota works. Win or go home, which creates cool storylines and some really sad storylines as well. I think
it started with TI, right? TI, the initial TI was $1 million for first place. And in order to do that, it meant that the total prize pool, they had to give Navi 62.5% of the total prize pool.
Yeah.
So if you got 4th place, the winners got $1 million. If you got 4th place, you got 5%, which was $80,000. And if you got bottom 8, you got nothing.
I don't know, man. There's no way to fix the system anymore, so I guess just go with it. And I guess there's no massive TI prize pool anymore, so like, what's the difference, What's 60% or 30% of $1 million compared to of 20 million? Yeah. Not too much to argue against anymore. So I guess players are content, but we'll see. I mean, I think I was doing the math the other day, and like the total amount of prize pool in this year is going to be comparable to last year. And it's going to be comparable to some of the seasons with high TIs before, because Riyad's come in and you have more $1 million lands than I think you used to, excluding that one year where there were like 40 lands, and that was absurd. Mm-hmm. So on average, I don't think players are complaining. I mean, they are, because they're always complaining. But like, they don't have anything to complain about in terms of what they're getting out of the ecosystem right now. It's everybody else on the outside that should be angry. Like Valve.
So yeah, they're going to be coming back into the Dota scene. We'll see what exactly they end up doing. All I know is that their LAN events looked their production was really, really good for the Counter-Strike events. I was a big fan of the events they did in Counter-Strike. So happy to hear that they're coming over Dota. And always welcome more tournament organizers in the space, because that was a big question when Valve dropped the DPC. It's like, how many tournament organizers are going to come in and fill the space? And initially, it didn't seem like it was going to be much past ESL and PGL. And then ESB came in. They've developed something. And now Blast is coming in. So now it feels like the season's actually going to get really busy towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I do wonder how many of these are actual audience lands, though. I don't think any of them really are. So that's the downside for viewers, I guess, is you're going to have a bunch of these like in-studio tournaments with maybe 10 teams, maybe 8, maybe 12, somewhere in that range. I mean, good for viewers, and there's a lot of tournaments. Again, very good for the players, because they don't necessarily care if there's an audience. I mean, some players really care, for sure. They play a lot better when there's a LAN. And it will hurt some of those guys. But I think most of those guys tend to be the older generation of players who are, like, if you're still playing by now, you don't really care. It is what it is. Or you've flunked out of Dota entirely and become a pattern day trader or something. So, At this point, you just got to go to as much as you can while Dota is still alive and doing well. Seems to be doing well, so you've got a long time left. But I do wonder like how much that schedule is going to come back to bite players in the ass, because that season where there was a lot of LANs back to back, people started to complain about it very quickly. Like, it did not take long before, I'm burnt out, too many tournaments, blah, blah. You know, you're going to go from one tournament, 2-day break, into another tournament, into a 2-day break, into another tournament. Like, people think that's exaggeration. That is literally what's going to happen in the next 2 months for some of these teams. They're going to play 3 to 4 tournaments within a month and a half between PGL, ESL, Dream League, into another LAN, right? Like the Blast dates around TI, like you're going to play TI Copenhagen around sometime. You're going to play a Blast event that there's another Dream League around, and then there's a PGL somewhere in there. Like you could end up playing 4 big LANs, including a TI, within 1 to 2 month period, which is a ridiculous amount for a Dota team to go through, like on an emotional and a travel strain and all of this. It's really hard to travel for LANs. Like people don't talk about it, but it's really difficult. You're jet lagged. You have 3 to 4 travel days of recuperation day. Then you're playing in a competitive environment that puts your body into overdrive even more. And then you have after the tournament, if you win or lose, you need a come down period. So if you go into another LAN very shortly after, you don't have time to fix stuff. You don't have time to emotionally come down and reset necessarily. Like maybe your team is disbanding. You got to kick some dude, find some other dude. Maybe someone misses a visa for one of those. So he like can't play that one, but he's going to come in for the other one. And now you have to your coach has to readjust. It's just a nightmare. So some of these teams are going to get burnt out. They're just going to be fucked going into like TI. I'm already calling that now. Like they're going to get the TI and be like, you know what? Team Spirit, you can have a third. I'm going to go to fucking Bahamas. I'm going to chill with my boys in Cancun, you know, whatever it is. Molly. You guys can win this TI. It's too much, you know. I'm burnt out. It's going to happen. It's just a question of who.
Yeah, because really the big event of the year that teams should be focusing on is Riyad, not TI, right?
I mean, yeah,
From
you
a
ain't going to
money standpoint.
Cancun for Riyadh. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Like, those boys going to show up there no matter what. So by the time you get to TI, you know, this might be some dudes who like are not able to play at 100% over a long tournament like that. That is the most emotionally draining and the most stressful, right? TI is still the most stressful event, I think. I think still above Riyadh. I think
the pressure in the crowd.
Yeah, it's just a different environment. I think even when I was there at both Riyadh and TI now as a talent, I think Riyadh's just more chill. The crowd wasn't as large.
I mean, as far as commentating wise, we were in a little broom closet.
No, but
so.
I'm just saying, like the vibe, the atmosphere, talking to players. Like I think down the stretch, when you're in the top 4 or 5 of Riyadh, is when it starts to build. 'Cause it's like, oh shit, you know, this match is for like $1 million. Like, okay, I'm not saying there isn't stress in that tournament, but TI is just a different beast because I think players still feel like that's what they're here. Like they're still here for a TI ring. As one of the things they want in Dota. They obviously want to make a lot of money. Winning Riyadh's a big deal. I'm not downplaying that. But TI is an environment that's set up to induce as much stress as possible to build storylines and generate the hype and make it come down to the clutch. And players feel that, and there's that pressure on. And it also feels like the end of the season. Okay, sure, we got rid of DPC. Sure, there's like no disbanding or rebanding period. But I guarantee you after TI, if you don't do well at TI, people are going to kick each other. They're going to go change teams. It's going to feel like the season's over. So that's your last shot to prove to yourself or your team or your family or your dog or whoever that I'm not garbage and like I'm actually as good as you guys believed in me, or that you paid me. Like, you know, some of these guys are getting paid, what is it, $250,000, $200K a year easily. Some of these top players. You go to TI, you get like
more. Yeah.
12th to 16th. What I got, getting paid zero. That's fucking embarrassing, bro. Like, are you going to go back to your org and just be like, wow, what can you do? You know, no, we'll get them next time. You know, are you going to start making some content like us? You got to generate that value somewhere. And TI is one of the best places to generate the value because so much of the viewership is dedicated to that tournament for a organizer, for a sponsor, for a team like a Team Liquid or a Gaming, right? That's why these guys are willing to pay a lot to guarantee they have a team that goes there, because that is worth so much of the year. You flunk out as a player, it feels real bad from an org relationship standpoint. It feels bad going into the next season and your bargaining power. You know, you win TI, you get top 2, you go back to that org, you're like, time to pay up, son. Time to pay that bill. It's come due. You know, I did my part. You wanna retain me? It's gonna be double, 2x from now on. You know, you get 12. Oh,
you're begging. You're begging.
You better be
Please,
checking. There's room in that Team Liquid doghouse behind the facility. You know, like it's gonna be some rough times. So that's
you're
the
not
pressure.
Getting, you're not getting
creates.
business class flights no more.
Hell no.
You're back in coach.
You ain't even getting on the plane.
Casters.
You ain't getting on a plane. You get a bus, Greyhound to Bolivia or wherever the next tournament is. Like, so that's the stress TI creates. None of that stress exists on these other tournaments. And so if you are emotionally or physically or mentally drained going into TI, it will punish you. You will get punished more than any of these other tournaments. The veterans know this by now and can kind of expect for it. You know, we had some of these old teams like OG not even play a season. Why? Not because there wasn't other stuff to play for, because they valued being 100% for TI, right? They don't want to get burnt out. There's some risk that could happen this year. I'm kind of interested to see who falls into that trap.
And then they're complaining about there's too many tournaments, and then the natural response is going to be, well,
100%.
That's a discussion you need to have with your team, with your organization, and be like, what tournaments are we not going to? And in which case there might end up being some tournaments, and it really feels too crowded when you end up watching tournaments that do not have some of the best teams at it, right? Because they've just decided it's not worth it. We're going to take a break from this one. And so then you have teams winning tournaments, and then there's always the, well, Team Spirit wasn't there, Liquid wasn't there, Game of Gladiators wasn't there, Falcons wasn't there.
Yeah, but the thing about those tournaments is, like, there's two sides to that. One is, maybe there's an asterisk on it, but for the team that does well because those other teams aren't there, that's huge.
Yeah.
That can make a team. It gives you so much confidence going into another land that maybe you do a little better at because of that, and then suddenly you go into TI with some momentum, right?
It's big for the orgs too. I remember
100%.
There was a conversation. I remember I had a conversation that stuck with me, and it was with somebody who knew esports and knew Dota specifically, and this person said, I have to be the translator for the people who don't know esports in the company. And, like, they don't understand all of esports, but they do understand this, right? And it's a picture of somebody holding a trophy, right? They understand winning. They understand that. They understand a trophy. They understand a championship, right? And it's like that has inherent value, and people understand that, and sponsors understand that. And, you know, so, like, winning any kind of tournament is still a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, TI gets you whatever you want, but these other LAN wins get you time. They get you breathing room to operate and maybe relieve some of that pressure. Because now you're sitting there as a player or a coach or a captain on one of those teams going like, you know, we got a trophy for the org. That gives us at least 6 months before that pressure kind of returns of like, hey, are you guys performing up to our standard, right? Or at least you're in that top 3 finish. If you're in a top 3 finish, that's good enough for almost any org in the world to be like, our team's doing well. You know, in that 4th to 6th place, you're doing okay. I think you're fine. That, like, 9th to 16th is 4 or 5 of those in a row. You're having a conversation with Johnny Big Bucks upstairs, and he's deciding whether this venture into Dota is worth it anymore. When he's looking at all these other games and being like, you know what, this is kind of expensive for a team that's not going to win. And I'm out of here. Good luck. So I think those tournament wins mean a lot. And they can make or break people's career trajectories. Do not underestimate them.
So on this topic of one, tournaments that do not have an audience, and 2, teams that have players who do not get a visa, we can talk about PGL Wallachia, which I don't know if it has an audience or not. I assume not. I didn't see anything about it.
There's no way.
Okay,
I don't think there's any way it has an audience.
And there's also some teams there who had some visa issues. And the biggest storyline for this tournament is, of course, Shopify Rebellion, and of course, Nigma Galaxy. Back at it again. The agency just keeps on finding value, Avery. They keep on finding value, not as a team, but individually owning players and leasing them out to teams for tournaments. It just keeps happening. So this time around, Shopify, it seems like they could not get a visa for Yopaj, I assume, because the Philippines, really hard to get visas there. So they are getting Sumail. So it's going to be Sumail and Arteezy back together again, which is quite a storyline in and of itself. And GH has come back as well, which means Correct me if I'm wrong here, Avery, but I believe that means now every single member. Oh wait, there's still FBZ. FBZ is still a part of the org. Did FBZ play for anybody? I don't think so. So it's just I was gonna say it's just Kuro, who has not played a LAN event in like so long because all these other players, Miracle, Samael, now GH, are all getting loaned out to these teams and have gone to LANs as a result.
Miracle didn't play on LAN. That was an online thing.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
yeah,
still tier 1 tournament.
Probably does feel bad for him, unless that was the goal of the org, to be the first talent-based lone org in Dota 2. I mean, I guess it's a route they can take. I don't know if it's the one they wanted, but I guess it's working out. I mean, they found the niche. They own the space. That's called a monopoly. Time to leverage it, you know? Is Shopify... I mean, the real question here, other than why can nobody stop Nigma from getting to LAN, the real question here is Shopify better now?
Better with Sumail over Yopaj? Absolutely not.
Well, they have GH too.
With GH over Theolacor, who they kicked.
Yeah, which who they kick him for, by the way?
We don't know yet. I don't believe.
They just kicked him for a stand-in GH? They had to have another player to kick him, right?
I mean, maybe GH is somebody that they've been in a conversation with. Maybe this stand-in situation is just, you know.
No, there's no way. There's no way so? That guy... No, I refuse to believe if GH was going to that team that he would be standing in at this event instead of just playing for them.
You don't think that it's possible he's in some sort of trial period?
I mean, yeah, maybe. Anything's possible. That's going to be an expensive buyout, whatever it is, because, I mean, him and Kuro go back so many years. I don't know. Well, I don't even want to touch that situation, but it is weird that they kicked this guy without a replacement announcement. Like, was Bulba just going to play? You know, bring out the Magnus? I don't know. Like, it is a clockwork patch.
Do you think that Theolacor looked bad on Shopify? Because no. I actually think when they looked good, he looked really good. I think he was definitely not a problem.
Yeah.
So that makes me think there is a high value player out there that is available, which, I mean, Saxa isn't playing right now. He's out there. You know, that's why I put the GH thing forward. You know, there are some players out there that could be got potentially. I don't know what Nine's up to, for example.
All right, Austin, I'm going to say this and be really clear about it. If Shopify Rebellion, led by Arteezy Bulba, in the year 2024, are still going out and trying to poach the quote-unquote highest value player they can, like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, honestly. What the fuck are we doing here? Like, they haven't tried this 30 times before. For 8 years now, they've been doing this. Like, do I need to go through the entire roster of every high-profile player that they have poached that did not work out for them? What are we doing here? Like, I actually like this roster because they took some chances on some, like, young dudes with some potential that maybe you can build around and, like, find a few pieces that work and like, and have some synergy. It did
feel like they broke the mold this time around.
Yeah, and they had a different play style, and, like, they go to one LAN and it just reverts to some AFK farming shit that doesn't, I don't know, something breaks down, who the hell knows, and then it's just like, well, that didn't work, time to go back to poaching high-profile players. Like, come on, man. How do you just... What are we doing here? Somebody has to look in the mirror and just be like, what are we doing here, man? I mean, maybe we're just farming some points and some money and, you know, they're chilling. Maybe the boys are just chilling. Like I said, they're going to head to the Bahamas sooner than everybody else. I'm not one to, like, you know, flame them or whatever. They can do whatever they want. They have the position in Dota to do that, and they have deserved that position, and they've worked to achieve that. So who am I to say anything? But, like, from a spectator point of view, from a fan point of view, you got to be sitting there just going, like, God damn it. Like, well, you're just sitting there expecting this LAN not to go well, and then in 2 months it's like, welcome back S4 to the Shopify Rebellion, and flies back for a third time. Guess what? Never saw that one coming. You know, this is the team that kicked their captain and brought him back within like 2 months. Think about that.
Was it that fast?
Yeah, it
2
was
months?
fast. It was like at least, whatever, maybe 3 months. I don't know. It was fast, though. That shit was out the door one way and back in the other. You know, like,
I
I
got
just
some
don't
other
understand.
names for you. Matthew is no longer on Nigma.
Yeah, that guy's good. I don't know why that guy can't find a team that works for him, but he is good. He's a shot caller, too.
And there's Eki.
Yeah, there is Eki. He's more of a wild card, I think. I honestly don't know where he will end up. I think he just needs more experience, if anything. I think he has some good raw skill. He can make some plays, but like I don't know if Shopify are the team that are going to take a chance on him, you know. I think it's more likely he finds a home on some European team.
Okay, I looked it up. Fly left or kicked from EG 2021 November 16th. He was back January 19th. So 2 months, but also consider like a month of that was like, maybe there was probably a Southeast Asia like ESL 1 or something like that. But there was like Christmas there. So that's really like less than 2 months.
You know what team needs a general man? Like we've been talking about general managers. You know, Zai is now
Yeah,
a general
yeah.
manager. There's been a couple of GM hires in Dota 2. This is kind of the role that's probably going to get filled over the next 3 or 4 years if Dota continues to grow at least a little bit. That team needs a general manager. Like, goddamn, do they need a general manager? Just some guy to make decisions for the long term, because there's way too many short-term ones, and it never works out for them. Short-term decisions almost never work out in Dota in general. I'm not trying to pick on them. That's just we're talking about them because of the stand-in situation. But like short-term decisions in Dota, you only want to make them if you have to and you don't have another option. And even then, sometimes it's the wrong decision. Now you're going to ask me how that can be the wrong. I'll tell you how. Because in Dota, sometimes doing nothing is the correct decision. Sometimes doing nothing is better than making a bad decision. And this happens all the goddamn time. And I have made this mistake as well. There have been times where I look back where I should have just done nothing. I should have just sat there with my team, not gone to a LAN, waited a month, or I should have sat there as a player or a coach, waited 2 months, you know, not signed with the team just because I didn't want to sit there for 2 months. You just wait. You just sit and wait. It's the old Valve strategy, right? Sit there and wait and let everybody fuck their own shit up. And you win by not doing anything. Like that, you know, win by making the least mistakes. Sometimes in Dota, that's a viable strategy. I actually promote that over making something that's a short-term decision that's bad. It's like, oh, you know, let's just try out this guy. Like, we'll do him for 2 months. Like, that can do a lot of damage to your team. It can do a lot of damage to that guy. Now, sometimes it's a good opportunity for him, risk-taking for you. You're going to evaluate these differently per team, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of times where either as a team or a random free agent, like it's your advantage to wait. You know, how many times has a player been picked up 2 or 3 months before TI and it makes their career? And guess what? They wouldn't have been picked up if they had, you know, oh, I'll try and play with, you know, this team for 2 months, right? I'm going to go play for Navi for 3 months, or I'm going to go play for Complexity for 2 months, or I'm going to go play for EG for, you know, 3 months because they want to try me out and it's like a good opportunity and TI's around the corner. And then guess what? You know, OG suddenly disband. They're like, shit, we need a mid player. Who can we get? Well, let's get this guy on the ladder because he's available and we don't have to deal with that contract buyout. And now you have this Thompson guy. So, you know, sometimes doing nothing's better. Sometimes I wish that team would just do nothing. Like, wait for the thing that makes sense to you and commit to that. Instead of just always these like jumping from one to the next to the next. That's what it feels like to me. I've been watching this for like 8 years, man. There's no long-term investment ever. In who? Name me one player.
There's long-term investment in Arteezy and Bulba.
Yeah, long-term investment in Kick, you know. I don't know, whatever. Again, I'm not trying to pick on them or anything. I think I'm talking generally. I think a lot of teams do this. And I think the teams that have figured out how to long-term invest and have some management who's involved in that process tends to work out better for the players in the end anyway. I don't know why players are adverse to this. They just feel like it's going to like fuck them individually. But if you play well and you continue to grow, the org is not going to get rid of you because you're continuing to show increased value. I think Liquid's a great example. I think Liquid often takes long-term approaches to their players, their teams, to their managers, right? They like to invest in people and they'll go through a year where they don't win up to their standard and it's fine. And they're doing they mostly do good
Yeah, they
over.
they renegotiate their salaries down, but like you take the L
Okay.
because you perform the L, and then you come
Yeah, but
back the
that's-
next year strong.
I'd rather
hungrier.
have that situation than the other one, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather have an org that gives me the time to develop into what I think I can,
Sure.
even if I take a short-term hit. Because you need the time to get there in Dota. Like, nothing works out that quickly unless you're OG. Just nothing works out that fast unless you have the will of God on your side or whatever. Or you sacrifice something. I don't know. That team, they don't count for like any of these discussions because they're just weird. But in general, it doesn't work out that fast. So I don't know. I'm kind of like, I just don't like these. But I did say it. I also said, I think a lot of these teams are going to kick more players this year and disband a lot more and like make these short-term decisions because there's not as big a punishment for anymore. It's less incentive to hold the team together against all costs. And if it doesn't work, I mean, if players hate each other, okay, you got to change. But I'm going to flame you on this show, I guess. I don't know. That's your downside to doing it. Pretty minor downside, I guess.
All right, so PGL Wallachia is going to be starting soon. We have a bunch of different teams. So we've got, the same old that we're going to be seeing. But there's a lot of teams that we did not see the last couple of events that are going to be at this tournament. And I think that's probably the interesting part because the fact we're still kind of, on the same patch. Still expecting Falcons to do well. We'll see if Gaming Gladiators bounces back from ESL 1, that poor performance. Liquid, are they going to continue to be kind of, whatever, top 8, or if they're actually going to make a run back to some finals again. But there are some other teams in here. One, Team Secret. We've got Mouse, who's also coming in, that you really only seen in qualifiers before. We're going to see Boom back at it again. So Bakaz is going to be back at a LAN event. Nouns is joining us again, where they played that they played the first tournament of the year, right? What was it? Did they play ESL 1 Asia? They played in something, or was it the first Dream League or something? Anyway, they played at something. They're back into it. Virtus Pro. They also, let's see, we've also got Aurora. So Aurora are going to be playing with Lorinov, right? Who they picked up. So that's so I think there's a lot of interesting stories just coming out of the teams that we don't see every single LAN event. So surely like one of these teams that we're talking about that have kind of question mark that we've only really seen in some online events and stuff like that, or maybe they've changed things around, like Shopify, they have some question marks, and like surely one of them is going to pop out and stand out amongst the rest. So do you have a prediction who that's going to be?
Of course.
Okay, who is it?
I knew you were going to ask this question before I even joined up here. Already had it prepared. Boom, 100% is the
Really?
dark horse. Yeah, they are the dark horse of this tournament. Now, dark horse for me in Dota is you get top 8 and people don't expect you to.
Okay.
So that is my prediction here. I think it will be Boom getting a top 8 after people do not expect them to. I think this team still has very high skill players. I think they have experienced players. I think the moment anything clicks for them, they can easily be a top 8 team in a LAN. And I think they're underdogs, so there's not a lot of pressure on them here. I think Swiss Groups is also potentially pretty good for them because they might just get like, it's pretty random, right? It's chaotic, random, kind of hard to prepare. I think that type of style is good for them. Worse for like some of the European teams who are probably better in a like more set up group stage where they know who they're playing, they can prepare for it a bit more, and then it's just like, oh, we outdrafted you and you lost lanes, goodbye. So Boom is my dark horse for this tournament, and if I had to pick a favorite who's going to win it, I think Team Spirit are going to bounce back. I think they're going to bounce back.
Really?
I don't know if they're going to win it, but I think they will get top 3 this event.
Okay.
Yeah, that team is, they've been beat up too much, and those guys are going to get goddamn pissed. Someone's going to yell at someone. Your throw's going to be like, if you all don't play 50 pubs in the next 24 hours, I'm kicking one of your asses, and you're going to have to drive home in your Lamborghini, all sad. So they're going to step it up. That's my prediction. I also think some of these teams, are not as unbeatable as we've had like a top field in the past, like Falcons. Sure, they want to land, but they're beatable, right? I think it's been a couple lands, people continuing to figure them out a bit. Like XG can just flop. The Chinese teams maybe do well, maybe they flop. The Gaming Gladiators really struggling lately. Liquid kind of in that like 4th to 2nd range, right? But obviously not hitting their 100% stride either. No. So you're kind of only really gunning for Falcons at this point as like the top dog. But outside of that, the field's pretty open. I think that's where Spirit could come in and maybe just like, again, they're kind of underdogs. People are just gonna be like, yeah, that team's washed for some reason or whatever. They're not, that's when those teams
they're not in Riyad form. They're only going to show up for the big tournament of the year.
Yeah, their manager's going to tell them that this random PGL has a $10 million prize pool, and they're going to be like, oh, shit, time to play. They just lie to them. That's the greatest motivational tool ever. Just lie to people and get them to do whatever. You can get them to do crazy shit.
What do you think about this Mouse team? Because that was the team that I think is going to stand out amongst the rest of the field of like the expected bottom 8 teams.
I mean, who ended up on this final roster for them?
So you got Olnet, Supreme, Force, Narman, the Mongolian player, and Bengi.
Yeah.
So a lot of names that you have not heard of in the tier 1 space. Like Narman, okay, he's maybe had the most showing, or maybe Force. But a lot of these guys most of the time have been around that tier 2, tier 3 area. But their recent performances have looked pretty good.
I mean, there's some potential here. I don't have faith in these like Southeast Asian mixed teams, dude. I just don't have faith. Like, nobody can take these C players and make them work in their team. Even
not
C
Secret,
teams,
not Shopify.
Like, nobody can. The only person who can is Bulba. That's the ridiculous part. He's the only guy who's ever taken C players. I mean, in Puppy, I guess. But I feel like back then, Puppy probably could have. He could have taken anybody, though, man. Like, come on. Let's be real. I feel like Puppy could have taken. Now, mid one obviously was extremely good at that time. Played out of his mind. Was maybe like MVP for that year or something. I don't even know. I'm not discrediting that. But Puppy probably could have taken a lot of players back then. And his advantage as a captain with his team was like so huge. They might have just looked like a god. So, okay, I'll give Puppy and Bulba the Sea Whisperers here. But like the cultural barrier for those guys, they talk about it in interviews. They talk about it all the time. It's really tough for them. I think it's harder for them than for a lot of other people. Like the language, the food, the travel. It's tough. I think it's just one of those things that's hard to overcome. And then you throw them in with a bunch of European players who play Dota a very different way. The style clash, I think, is one of the hardest to make work. Like, I think you can take C players and put them on Chinese teams, and they all play on the same server. They interact with each other a lot more. There's some shared language that, like Ice has gone to China, Fu went to China, right?
Yeah.
NTS. Like, you can do that, and it's not that large a barrier to overcome. But
you got G2IG who are more Malaysian than they are Chinese at this point. Yeah.
Very doable. But to go from SCA to Europe that is maybe one of the toughest blends to make work. It's really damn tough. Like, I think going from C to NA is honestly maybe easier. Just because I think the NA players are like more culturally similar to C.
Okay.
That's my gut read. But I don't have faith in these European SEA blends. I don't really have faith in Mal's or Secret with their current roster construction, even if the players are good and even if it makes sense. And even if they overperform a little, I just think long term the momentum's against you, man. Like, it is tough. That is an uphill battle from the start. So you better overperform consistently to make up for it. That's how I see it.
So does the inverse situation also remain doubtful? Do you think that Lorinov being on Aurora, do you think that's not likely to work? A European playing on a Southeast Asian team?
As good a fit as he is and as good as they looked, I don't think it'll work out. That's just my belief. You don't have to listen to me.
Is this one of those short-term versus long-term situations again, where you think like long-term is just destined to fail?
Yeah, I'm like, even if Lorinov looked good with them, even if you had a good tournament result, I'm not going to do it because I just think long-term it's not going to make this team reach its highest potential. Now, I'm not saying maybe they should have taken Armel if there were other problems there or he couldn't play. I don't know what the situation was there. But I feel like that team with 5C players is just going to have a better shot because of the unity, the similar modes of thinking about the game, the cultural similarities. All these things add up over a long season. And Lornoff is just going to be the odd man out. And it's maybe okay when you're winning. What about when you're losing? And he starts feeling a bit more isolated. You know, these guys start yelling to each other in a language he doesn't understand. Like, these things happen in teams and they add up. It's just, if you don't have to do it, you shouldn't. Like, so maybe it's working. Maybe it's going to click on all cylinders. They could have a pop-off event, but I think long-term it's just, I have been in Dota too long and seen too many of these types of rosters. I've played on these types of rosters. I've brought in players from I know the challenges. People consistently underestimate them. And I have little faith in them. But maybe that's my personal bias speaking. You know, power to them. Venture forth into the unknown and surprise the world. I will applaud you if you do.
Okay, so we'll wrap this up. So we're going to release this before PGL Wallachia starts. We'll do a recap after the group stage and kind of see what went down. But since we already know the individual matches for the Swiss stage, I'm just going to go down the line and you just tell me who's winning. So, Liquid G2IG.
Wait, are these BO2s, BO3s? What are these?
I assume they're BO3s? Yeah, they're BO3s.
They have to be BO3s,
Swiss,
right?
Swiss is always BO3 because you need a winner.
Man, that's the first day. I will take G2IG.
I'll do my prediction as well. I'll join you on this. I'll say Liquid. Game and Gladiators versus Secret.
Game and Gladiators.
Gladiators. Secret versus... Oh, I saw that one. Falcons versus Heroic.
Falcons.
Falcons, yeah.
That one's closer than I think, though.
Yeah, it's opening day. Heroic is not a bad team.
That's a weird one.
But, you know, if there were odds on it, then maybe we would go Heroic, but a straight, you know, loser, winner, yeah.
That can be arranged.
Bet Boom versus Shopify.
Shopify.
Bet Boom. Bet Boom.
No, it's Shopify, bro. Shopify in group stages, unchallengeable, dog. And now they have GH. It's over. It's over. This land might just be over. GH, the IO god, tethers himself to another team. It's over, bro. It's over.
Tethers himself to another team.
The tether god. You can't stop him.
Maybe that's just what RTZ's missing. It's just a really good IO
I'm telling
player.
you, this GH guy's going to play IO. He's going to tether RTZ for 50 minutes straight. The game's over. It's done. It's done. You can't do anything. Auto 2-0. 2-0. I'm going to call 2-0. Shopify Rebellion.
Team Spirit versus Virtus Pro. You said Team Spirit's going to bounce back, but it's interregional.
Oh, my God. I mean, they're so bad early in the group stage, too. I'll take Virtus Pro.
All right, Spirit.
I'm not discrediting my Spirit prediction, though. I'm just saying they're a weak early group stage team.
Sure.
You know, they come back in the second half.
Extreme versus Boom.
I mean, that's my dark horse, dog. That's my dark. I'll take Boom.
Extreme. Aurora versus Mouse.
I'll take Aurora.
Mouse.
Aurora on that one.
Yeah. Okay, some of these are overlapping, so I already said that one.
That's all of them.
I think I said all of them, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, no, wait, I didn't. Nouns versus Azure Ray.
Oh, that's right. I'll take Azure Ray.
Yeah, Azure Ray. Let's stick there. I mean, you know, it would not be surprising to have any, like, an upset like that in the opening of Swiss.
I think Nouns, Azure Ray, and Heroic Falcons are probably the two that are very close and a lot closer than people probably think.
Yeah.
Because Heroic these guys just beat the top teams. Like, I don't know what it is about this squad, but they thrive in those types of, like, upset matches. They just catch people off guard. You know, I mean, it is like, I guess it's a classic for this type of like K1 Hector team setup where, like, you have Hector, Schofield. These guys are they're really annoying for top teams. Like, really annoying because they just don't let you play your game. So,
I mean, they started off ESL 1 opening day. They 2-0'd Extreme and went 1-1 with Spirit, who, Spirit later got eliminated. They tied with everybody, but still, Like that's an opening round that went very well for them. But we'll see if they could do the same against Falcons, who are obviously the toughest team to beat right now. Okay, I think that closed it up. So we'll come back for another one after the Swiss group stage is done for PGL Wallachia before the playoff starts. And we'll talk about when went down for the group stage and our predictions for playoffs. And then we'll do another one after playoffs. Maybe. We might be a Dream League at that point in time, but we'll still try and put something together, I'm sure. All right, thanks for watching another episode of Not for Broadcast. Avery, you got anything else?
Nope.
Good. All right, goodbye.